My name is Daniel Birchfield. I'm age 19 and I'm a private first class in the U.S. Army. Well, I decided to join the Army mostly because I've been thinking about it my entire school career for the most part. My grandfather was also in the military, 2 different branches, so that had a pretty heavy impact on me. But I've always just looked up to the men in uniform and such. They had a lot of qualities I wanted in myself. So I just figured, around the time of junior year, that I thought it was something worth investing my time in. The process of actually joining the military, it started a couple years into ROTC actually, around junior year. We had a recruiter, Sergeant Padilla, with the National Guard, out of an armory somewhere around Blue Island. He came in and he was just talking about how amazing the Army was and such, the way recruiters do. And I thought about it. I thought he spoke about the split option, where you can join the military a year before you graduate. So I thought about it, and I was like, I've been waiting for this chance. I might as well take it now that it's presented itself. So I did. I proceeded. I spoke to him after class, and the process was actually pretty fast, amazingly fast actually. I expected it to take a couple months, but realistically, he went to his office right after school, grabbed some paperwork, and we went back to my house, spoke to my mother, and started signing stuff right away. Before I knew it, I was getting sworn in at MEPS down in Chicago. And from there, I was just shipped to basic training about a month later. Well, after they had given me my assignment from MEPS, I was shipped off to Oklahoma, actually, Fort Sill. It was my first plane ride ever, and it was amazing. I was terrified. But we got there, got off the plane, and immediately hopped onto a bus and were driven up into the scariest place I've ever seen. There were drill sergeants waiting there when we got off the bus, and if I've ever been terrified in my life, it was then. We were unloaded from the bus and dragged around Fort Sill for a while, acquiring different equipment and such. By the end of the processing cycle, at the very beginning, I had probably a 100-pound pack to carry around, and we were sprinting everywhere we went. But that was just processing. From there, we hopped on another bus a couple days later and actually got to basic training, and we got this thing called a shark attack, which is, while we're unloading the bus, all the drill sergeants in the entire battalion are lined up from our bus to our rooms up in the barracks, screaming. So we migrated from the bus to the building and dropped our gear there and got a long speech from the drill sergeants about how he was going to be our mom for the next 9 weeks. From there, our days were pretty much filled with PT. Every morning we'd wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning and do push-ups, sit-ups, everything. Whether it was raining or snowing, whatever. We were out there. And then we'd go to breakfast. From there we'd go to the range, usually. We'd fire the M16. I didn't qualify very well. I was pretty terrible with it. So I got made fun of a lot by most of the drill sergeants. But eventually I got it. We moved on through that, different training. This thing called Liberty City near the end, actually. That was pretty amazing. It was a bunch of shipping containers set up on top of one another in a different complex and such, like a building. And we had to clear it using machine guns and grenades and M16s, using all blanks and such. And the opposing platoon would flip their uniforms inside out and dress up like terrorists, pretty much. And they'd be littered all through the buildings, and we'd have to clear it properly using all the training we'd acquired over our 9 weeks. And my position, I was set up, my M16 had actually jammed, so I picked up a machine gun and was set up outside the building, laying down covering fire for our squads as they moved around. I had my buddy next to me, and he was firing off his M16, and I'd tap him on the head and point to a guy, and he'd tap on me, point to another guy in a window. And all the while, the drill sergeants were following around all the squads. Once in a while, they'd stop and point at a guy and scream at him, "You're dead. What do you do now?" Like they do in the movies. Basic training was actually my first experience with a public shower. That was an interesting experience. The first time we went in there, we were expecting, a regular shower. How 60 guys could fit in one shower, we didn't know. But we didn't think about it. We just thought, cool, a shower. We got in there, and it was a big room with a bunch of faucets attached to the wall. This is the most awkward thing we've ever done. A bunch of 60 naked guys all trying to take a shower at once, using 6 faucets. It was the same way with our latrines and such, the toilets. There were about 6 of them and 60 guys trying to use them. But later on, we graduated basic training, and that was probably the best experience of my life. I mean, 6 years of working as hard as I ever have. Before basic training, I'd never done anything. I'd never had a job. I'd never been very good at sports. But basic training, I'd really been a part of something. I had a whole bunch of friends that were closer than anyone I'd ever known. That meant so many amazing people, and we were all there at graduation day, wearing our Class A uniforms, the green ones with the medals and such. And we marched right in, sat down. All our parents were there. And we got the speech. We got the drill sergeant talking to us. We got our diplomas and such. And then we got up, sung a cadence, and marched out, with all our parents sitting there with us. We marched right back to the barracks after that, and we were released to our families. They got us for the next couple of days before we left again. And then we were on to AIT.